Imagine trusting a lawyer with your entire life's savings, only to discover that he had quietly rewritten the rules in his own favor. That's exactly what happened to 79-year-old Leonard Shaw. A trusted attorney's assistant became the man controlling a secret trust worth millions. After Leonard died, Owen Price walked into court expecting to collect nearly $1.9 million. He thought every document was flawless. He never expected Leonard's daughter, Rebecca, to uncover the one mistake that could destroy everything. This is one of the most shocking inheritance fraud cases you'll ever hear. Leonard Shaw had spent 51 years building a life in Boston, Massachusetts that most people would have considered quietly extraordinary. He had worked as a civil engineer for the city, raised 2 daughters after his wife passed in 2011, and accumulated an estate that surprised even his closest friends when the full picture finally emerged in court. A paid-off home in a neighborhood he had lived in for 30 years, a commercial property he had purchased as an investment in 2003, a retirement portfolio managed carefully and consistently over 5 decades. Total value, $1.9 million. His daughter Rebecca, 45, had taken on the informal role of managing his affairs since his health began declining in 2020 following a diagnosis of early-stage Parkinson's disease. She paid his bills, managed his calendar, and spoke to his doctors on his behalf. She trusted the legal side of things to her father's attorney, a man named Gerald Marsh, who had handled Leonard's estate planning for over 15 years. What Rebecca did not know was that Gerald Marsh had taken an extended medical leave in early 2021 and had handed his active client files to a junior associate named Owen Price. Owen Price was 41 years old and had worked for the firm for 3 years. He was precise, organized, and had built a reputation internally for being thorough with complex estate documents. He was also, as investigators would later discover, deeply in debt following the collapse of a real estate investment he had made using borrowed money. The combination of access, expertise, and desperation would prove to be a dangerous one. Owen reviewed Leonard's file carefully in the first weeks of his temporary assignment. He understood the structure of the existing estate plan, the value of the assets, and the fact that Leonard was elderly, cognitively vulnerable, and largely dependent on professionals he trusted without question. He also understood that Gerald Marsh's extended absence meant no one with long-term familiarity with the case would be reviewing his work for months. In April of 2021, Owen scheduled what he described to Leonard as a routine estate review appointment. He visited Leonard at home, presenting himself as acting on Gerald Marsh's behalf. Leonard, who had met Owen twice before during office visits, had no reason to question the arrangement. Owen presented a revised revocable living trust document, explaining it was an updated version of Leonard's existing plan designed to improve tax efficiency and simplify asset management. The document did contain Leonard's existing trust provisions. It also contained 2 additional pages Owen had inserted near the back, written in dense legal language that Leonard would have needed considerable time and independent guidance to fully understand. Those pages named Owen Price as co-trustee with broad discretionary authority over trust assets during Leonard's lifetime, and designated Owen as a beneficiary entitled to 15% of the total trust value upon Leonard's death, described in the document as compensation for ongoing trust administration services. Leonard signed the document. Owen had a notary present who witnessed the signing without reviewing the full contents independently. Gerald Marsh returned from medical leave in September of 2021. Owen told him the Shaw file had been updated with a routine trust revision. Marsh accepted this without reviewing the new document in detail, trusting his associate's summary. Leonard Shaw passed away in February of 2023. Owen filed his beneficiary claim with the trust within 2 weeks. Rebecca was reviewing the trust documentation with a new attorney she had retained to manage the estate settlement when she found the additional pages. She had to read them 3 times before she fully understood what she was looking at. She called her attorney from the parking garage outside his office, hands shaking, and asked him how something like this was possible. Her attorney, a trust litigation specialist named Anna Reeves, had practiced in Boston for 22 years. When Rebecca described what the pages contained, Anna told her to bring every document she had and come back immediately. Anna Reeves filed an emergency motion in Suffolk County Probate Court within 48 hours, freezing all trust assets pending investigation. She then contacted the Massachusetts Board of Bar Overseers and filed a formal complaint against Owen Price, triggering an independent investigation alongside the civil proceedings.
Anna obtained Gerald Marsh's complete file records, which showed that no trust revision had been formally authorized, reviewed, or billed to Leonard's account through the firm's standard documentation process. The revision Owen had created existed only in the copy he had filed with the trust, with no corresponding record in the firm's case management system, a standard procedure Owen had deliberately bypassed. Anna also retained a forensic document examiner who compared the inserted pages to the remainder of the trust document. The examiner found that while the paper and ink were consistent, the page numbering sequence contained a subtle error that indicated the additional pages had been inserted after the original document was assembled, rather than being part of the original draft. It was a small mistake. It was the only one Owen had made. Anna further obtained Owen's personal financial records through discovery, which revealed the full extent of his debt situation and a series of transfers he had made in anticipation of the expected trust payout, including a deposit on a property and a partial payment on an outstanding loan, both made in the week after Leonard's death, before the claim had even been formally reviewed. Gerald Marsh, when confronted with the full picture by the bar overseers, cooperated completely. He provided a sworn statement confirming he had never authorized any revision to Leonard's trust, and that the document Owen had described as routine had never been reviewed or approved through the firm's standard process. He also confirmed that Owen had specifically told him the Shaw file required no follow-up review, a statement Marsh now understood had been deliberately designed to prevent discovery. The hearing was held before the Honorable Judge Patricia Holt at the Suffolk County Probate Court in Boston. Anna Reeves presented the forensic page numbering analysis, Owen's personal financial records, Gerald Marsh's sworn statement, the firm's internal documentation records showing no authorized revision, and the timeline connecting Owen's debt situation to the creation of the fraudulent document. She called the forensic document examiner to testify about the page numbering error in precise, accessible detail. The examiner explained to the court exactly how she had identified the inconsistency and why it was impossible to account for without concluding the pages had been inserted after original assembly. She then called Gerald Marsh to the stand. He testified quietly and without hesitation that he had trusted Owen Price with a vulnerable client's file, and that the result had been a betrayal of every professional obligation an attorney carries. He told the court he had submitted his own resignation from active practice the previous month. Owen's attorney argued that Leonard had understood and freely consented to the revised trust provisions. Anna Reeves asked the court to consider how a 79-year-old man with early-stage Parkinson's disease, reviewing a complex legal document presented to him by a professional he had been told to trust, could reasonably have been expected to identify 2 pages of dense legal language inserted near the back of a document he believed was a routine update, without independent counsel present, without his longtime attorney present and without any explanation of what the additional provisions actually meant for his estate. Judge Patricia Holt ruled the fraudulent pages void and ordered the trust administered according to Leonard's original estate plan, with the full value of the estate passing to Rebecca as the rightful beneficiary. She referred Owen Price to the Suffolk County District Attorney for fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and elder financial exploitation. She also issued a formal referral to the Massachusetts Board of Bar Overseers recommending disbarment. Owen Price was convicted on all criminal counts and sentenced to 7 years in Massachusetts State Prison. His law license was revoked within 4 months of his conviction. The firm he had worked for settled a separate civil claim brought by Rebecca for negligent supervision. Rebecca Shaw used a portion of the estate settlement to establish a small fund at a Boston legal aid organization specifically designated to assist elderly individuals who cannot afford independent legal review of estate documents presented to them by professionals they have been asked to trust. She said her father had spent 51 years trusting the right people. She wanted his money to help someone else do the same. Leonard Shaw built something careful and honest over an entire lifetime. A man he had never fully met decided that expertise and access were enough to take it. The court confirmed that they were not. And the one small mistake Owen Price made in a document he believed was perfect was enough to give everything back to the daughter who was always supposed to have it. Would you know how to spot an unauthorized page inserted into a legal document? Tell us in the comments below. And if this story stayed with you, subscribe to Court of Shadows for more courtroom drama stories every week.